If you want to know how fast your body is truly aging, stop fixating on your blood pressure readings or your cholesterol panel. Start paying attention to something far more telling, your telomere length. These tiny protective caps sitting at the ends of your chromosomes function like a biological countdown clock. When they become too short, your cells stop dividing, your tissues lose their ability to repair themselves, and your organs begin to fail. But here's what almost nobody is aware of. There's a 2,000-year-old root found deep in the mountains of northern China that contains compounds so remarkably potent they can switch your telomerase enzyme back on and multiply the regenerative stem cells circulating in your bloodstream by as much as 3 times. And the most astonishing part is that modern science from some of the world's leading universities is now confirming what ancient healers understood centuries ago. Most people assume that once your stem cell count declines with age, you're simply left with whatever your body has remaining. They believe the only route to boosting stem cells involves costly injections at some exclusive clinic abroad. But after nearly 3 decades studying cellular regeneration and herbal pharmacology, I've uncovered something that completely overturns that assumption. A single dried root, available at most health food stores for under $15, contains at least 4 distinct compounds that reawaken dormant stem cell pathways your body abandoned decades ago. My name is Dr. Lyanna. I'm an emergency medicine physician and regenerative health researcher. After years of treating patients whose bodies were deteriorating far too early, I came across a pattern that permanently transformed the way I approach medicine. We've been conditioned to accept cellular decline as simply the cost of growing older, that by your 50s or 60s, your repair systems are winding down, and there's very little you can do about it. But the published research on this particular herb tells a completely different story. Once you see the data, you'll understand why I now recommend it to nearly every patient who comes through my door. In this video, I'm going to walk you through precisely what makes this ancient root so extraordinary for cellular renewal. You'll discover the name of this overlooked herb and the 4 active compounds within it that directly stimulate stem cell production and telomerase activation. You'll learn the exact biological mechanisms through which it rejuvenates aging cells, including pathways most physicians have never even mentioned to their patients. You'll see the remarkable clinical studies from institutions in France, Spain, and China, demonstrating measurable reversal of biological aging markers in as little as 6 months. I'll share my complete morning protocol with precise dosages, preparation methods, and timing strategies for maximum benefit. I'll cover the critical mistakes that can render this herb entirely ineffective and how to sidestep every single one. And I'll reveal the synergistic foods that can amplify this herb's stem cell effects by up to 400% when combined correctly. One quick request before we get started. I regularly hear from viewers who tell me they've been watching my content for weeks and only just realized they weren't subscribed. Would you take a moment right now to check? It costs nothing, takes 2 seconds, and it helps this channel bring science-backed health information to more people, genuinely searching for real answers about aging. The herb I'm referring to is called Astragalus membranaceus. In traditional Chinese medicine, it's known as huangqi, which translates roughly to yellow leader, named for the golden color of its root and its reputation as the supreme energy-restoring plant in the entire Chinese pharmacopoeia. It has been prescribed continuously for over 2,000 years to strengthen what ancient practitioners called wei, or defensive energy, a concept we now recognize maps almost perfectly onto modern immunology and stem cell biology. And yet, despite being one of the most thoroughly documented medicinal plants in human history, it remains virtually unknown in the Western world. Walk into any physician's office in North America or Europe and ask about it, and you'll receive a blank stare. Meanwhile, over 1,600 peer-reviewed studies have been published on its active compounds, and the findings are nothing short of extraordinary. To understand why Astragalus is so powerful, you first need to grasp what's genuinely happening inside your body as you age. Think of your cells like rechargeable batteries. When you're young, each battery comes with long protective caps on its terminals. Every time a cell divides, a tiny sliver of that cap is shaved away. After enough divisions, the cap is gone. The battery can no longer hold a charge, and the cell either dies or enters a zombie-like state called senescence, where it sits leaking inflammatory chemicals into the surrounding tissue. Your body does possess a tool for rebuilding those caps, an enzyme called telomerase. The problem is that in most adult cells, the gene responsible for producing telomerase has been dialed down to almost nothing. It's like having a perfectly functional repair kit locked in a cabinet with the key discarded. What Astragalus does, and this is where it becomes truly fascinating, is produce compounds that essentially pick that lock. They reactivate telomerase production in cells where it had been silenced for years. Once telomerase begins flowing again, those fraying chromosome caps start to rebuild. But telomere repair is only half the story. Your body also maintains a reserve army of stem cells, roughly 60 to 70 million of them, housed primarily in your bone marrow. These are your master repair cells. They can transform into virtually any tissue your body requires, from new blood vessels to fresh cartilage to replacement heart muscle. In a young person, these cells are continuously being mobilized into the bloodstream, patrolling for damage and repairing it immediately. But as we age, they increasingly remain dormant, sitting idle in the marrow like firefighters asleep at the station while the building next door is on fire. Astragalus contains specific polysaccharides and saponins that act like a biological fire alarm, jolting those dormant stem cells awake and pushing them back into active circulation. Let me walk you through the 4 specific pathways through which Astragalus operates, because understanding these will show you why this is not just folk medicine, this is measurable, reproducible biology. Pathway 1 is telomerase reactivation through cycloestragenol. The root of Astragalus membranaceus contains a triterpenoid compound called cycloestragenol. When consumed, this molecule enters your cells and directly upregulates transcription of the TERT gene, which is the genetic blueprint for the catalytic core of telomerase. In laboratory studies on human immune cells, cycloestragenol increased telomerase activity anywhere from 1.3 to 3.3-fold compared to untreated cells. That's not a minor nudge, that's switching a dormant engine back on. Pathway 2 is hematopoietic stem cell mobilization through the AMPK pathway. Astragaloside IV, another key compound in the root, has been shown to directly activate the AMPK PGC1 alpha signaling cascade inside hematopoietic stem cells in your bone marrow. In plain terms, it supercharges the mitochondria, the tiny power plants, inside each stem cell. When mitochondria generate more energy, stem cells can divide faster, enter the bloodstream more readily, and travel to sites of damage with far greater efficiency. Researchers using irradiated mouse models found that astragaloside IV treatment significantly accelerated the recovery of bone marrow stem cell populations, essentially tripling the rate at which the stem cell pool rebuilt itself. Pathway 3 is anti-senescence protection through polysaccharides. Astragalus polysaccharides, commonly abbreviated as APS, possess a unique ability to counteract cellular senescence. Remember those zombie cells that stop dividing but refuse to die? APS reduces their accumulation by shielding mitochondria from oxidative damage and by maintaining expression of critical pluripotency genes like NANOG and OCT4, the same genes that keep embryonic stem cells in their all-powerful, undifferentiated state. When APS prevents their suppression in adult stem cells, those cells retain their capacity to become whatever tissue the body needs. Pathway 4 is immune system recalibration. Astragalus doesn't simply boost cell counts indiscriminately. It modulates the balance between different branches of your immune system, specifically adjusting the ratio of Th1 to Th2 helper cells, calming overactive inflammatory signaling through the NF-kappa B pathway, and stimulating macrophage activity. This matters because chronic low-grade inflammation, what researchers call inflammaging, is one of the primary forces driving stem cells into dormancy in the first place. By quieting this background inflammation, Astragalus creates the conditions under which stem cells can reawaken and function properly. Now let me show you the published science behind all of this, because these are controlled peer-reviewed studies, not theoretical claims. In 2024, researchers at the University of Paris-Sorbonne, in collaboration with the Institute of Medicine and Physiology of Longevity, conducted a randomized, double-blind, placebo-controlled trial on 40 healthy volunteers with an average age of 56. Participants took an Astragalus-based supplement containing 250 milligrams of extract, including 40 milligrams of astragaloside IV and 25 milligrams of cycloestragenol, twice daily for 6 months. The supplemented group showed statistically significant lengthening of both median and critically short telomeres, along with a meaningful reduction in the percentage of cells with dangerously short telomeres below 3 kilobase pairs. The placebo group showed no such change. Researchers at Maria Curie-Skłodowska University in Poland examined an astragalus root extract on lymphocytes from 18 healthy donors with an average age of 63. After just 3 days of exposure to the extract, 13 out of 18 donors showed significant telomere elongation. The average gain was equivalent to reversing approximately 6.8 years of biological aging, measured against established telomere shortening rates of 79 base pairs per year. A 2025 study published in Chinese Medicine used mouse models exposed to total body irradiation at 4 gray to simulate accelerated aging and stem cell damage. Mice treated with astragaloside IV at doses of 50 to 100 milligrams per kilogram showed dramatically faster hematopoietic reconstruction, with bone marrow stem cells rebounding at rates far outpacing untreated controls, driven by enhanced mitochondrial function through the AMPK-PGC1 alpha pathway. A landmark study at the Spanish National Cancer Research Center demonstrated that TA65, a purified cycloestragenol extract from Astragalus membranaceus, increased average telomere length and reduced the percentage of critically short telomeres in aging mice, all without increasing cancer incidence. That final point is critical because one of the chief concerns around telomerase activation has always been the potential to fuel tumor growth. This study confirmed that herb-derived activation operates safely within a therapeutic window. And in an Egyptian study published in the International Journal of Stem Cells, male rats given astragalus during chemotherapy-induced bone marrow suppression showed the highest percentage of CD34 positive stem cells of any group, higher even than healthy untreated controls. Flow cytometry confirmed that astragalus not only protected existing stem cells from destruction, but actively stimulated the production of new ones. Here is exactly how I recommend incorporating astragalus into your daily routine for maximum benefit. Take 10 to 15 grams of dried sliced astragalus root and simmer it in 3 cups of water for 20 to 25 minutes. Do not boil aggressively. A gentle rolling simmer extracts the polysaccharides and saponins without degrading them. Drink 1 cup in the morning on an empty stomach and sip the remaining 2 cups throughout the day. If you prefer convenience, look for a supplement standardized to contain at least 10% astragaloside IV and a measurable quantity of cycloestragenol, taken at 250 milligrams twice daily, alongside a small amount of healthy fat such as a quarter of an avocado or a teaspoon of olive oil, since these saponins are fat-soluble. Add 4 to 5 slices of dried astragalus root to your bone broth while it simmers for 12 to 24 hours. This gives you the dual benefit of collagen peptides from the broth and regenerative compounds from the astragalus. Pair your astragalus with 200 milliliters of pure pomegranate juice. Pomegranate's elagitannins are converted by gut bacteria into urolithin A, which independently stimulates mitophagy, the recycling of damaged mitochondria, creating a powerful 1-2 punch for stem cell energy alongside astragalus. Take 500 milligrams to 1 gram of lion's mane mushroom extract daily. Lion's mane stimulates nerve growth factor production, and emerging research suggests it works synergistically with astragalus polysaccharides to support neurogenesis. Add 1 cup of wild blueberries to your morning routine. Their anthocyanins have independently been shown to increase circulating stem cell counts and reduce the inflammatory markers that suppress stem cell mobilization. Brew 2 cups of high-quality green tea at 175 degrees Fahrenheit, not boiling, and never add cow's milk, as casein proteins bind to the catechins and reduce their absorption by up to 80%. Finally, consume 30 to 50 grams of fresh broccoli sprouts 3 to 4 times per week. These young seedlings contain up to 100 times more sulforaphane than mature broccoli, activating the NRF2 pathway, your body's master antioxidant defense switch, which protects newly mobilized stem cells from oxidative damage. A few critical clinical insights from my years working with patients on this protocol. Take your Astragalus within the first hour of waking, as its adaptogenic properties work synergistically with your natural morning cortisol peak to enhance immune cell mobilization. Combine water-soluble delivery through tea with fat-soluble delivery through capsules to ensure you absorb both categories of active compounds at peak bioavailability. Cycle your intake on a pattern of 5 days on and 2 days off, or 6 weeks on and 2 weeks off, to prevent your body from downregulating receptor sensitivity. Ask your doctor about a baseline telomere length test and repeat it at 6 and 12 months to objectively track your progress. And always source roots from plants at least 4 years old, ideally from Inner Mongolia or Gansu province, with a third-party certificate of analysis. The most common mistake I see is inconsistency, taking Astragalus for a week, feeling slightly more energetic, then abandoning it for a month. Stem cell activation and telomere maintenance are cumulative processes. The French clinical trial ran 6 full months before measuring significant telomere changes. Commit to at least 90 days before expecting meaningful cellular shifts. The second mistake is replacing whole herb preparations with cheap isolates. Your body evolved to process complex plant matrices, not single molecules in a capsule. Whole root extracts consistently outperform purified single compounds in clinical studies. The third mistake is expecting overnight results. What patients typically notice first, around weeks 3 to 4, is improved energy, better sleep, and faster recovery from exercise. The deeper structural changes to telomeres and stem cell counts take considerably longer. The fourth mistake is neglecting the foundation. No herb, however powerful, can compensate for a poor diet, chronic sleep deprivation, or a sedentary lifestyle. Build the foundation first, then let Astragalus supercharge it. Here is what I want you to understand before we close. Cellular aging is not a fixed sentence handed to you by your genetics. The people I've worked with who are thriving in their 70s and 80s, with the energy and mental clarity of someone decades younger, aren't genetic outliers. They simply made consistent, informed choices that kept their repair systems engaged and gave their bodies the raw materials to keep rebuilding. Your telomerase enzyme is still there, waiting to be reactivated. Your 60 million stem cells are still sitting in your bone marrow, waiting for the signal to mobilize. Astragalus provides one of the most powerful natural signals we've ever identified to wake them up. And you can begin this process tomorrow morning with a simple cup of simmered root tea. Your body's aging rate is governed largely by telomere length and stem cell activity, both of which are far more modifiable than conventional medicine has led you to believe. Astragalus membranaceus, a 2,000-year-old Chinese medicinal root, contains 4 categories of compounds: cycloestragenol, astragaloside 4, polysaccharides, and flavonoids that directly reactivate telomerase, mobilize dormant stem cells, protect against cellular senescence, and recalibrate your immune system. Clinical trials from French, Spanish, Polish, Chinese, and Egyptian institutions have demonstrated measurable telomere lengthening, accelerated stem cell recovery, and biological age reversal, all with excellent safety profiles and no increase in cancer risk. Your cellular health is not predetermined by your genetics or your birth certificate. It is shaped profoundly by what you choose to consume and how you choose to live each day. You have far more authority over your own biology than you've ever been told. If this information opened your eyes to something new, please forward this video to someone you care about who needs to hear it. Millions of people are aging faster than necessary simply because they've never been exposed to this research. Hit subscribe and tap the bell so you never miss a new video. I release new evidence-based content every week on the science of aging, cellular repair, and the foods that make it all possible. Check out my previous video where I break down the 7 foods that generate brand new mitochondria, backed by clinical proof that pairs perfectly with today's protocol. I'll see you in the next one.